This is Alan Rudd with the Tech Collective, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this video where we're going to take a look at demystifying the whole topic of cyber insurance. With me today, I've got two panelists who I think you're going to enjoy hearing their views on. My partner, the managing partner in the Tech Collective, Craig Sikowski, and Ralph Pasquarello from Snelling Walters, who's somewhat of a legend in the cyber insurance business here in the Atlanta area. So Craig, maybe you could take a minute and introduce yourself, and then Ralph, please do the same.
Thanks, Alan. I'm Craig Sikowski. I'm the senior managing partner from the Tech Collective. We're a private IT consulting company, kind of a boutique shop. We also specialize in cyber insurance policies, protection, and partnerships. We do infrastructure, anything that's connected via wire. That's what we do.
Thanks. And Ralph Pasquarello, I'm the Director of Business Development for Snelling Walters here in Atlanta. We're a nationwide company. And for the last 13 years, I've been specializing in cyber insurance and tech E&O insurance, and which you all know is a booming industry right at the moment.
Thank you, guys. So I'm going to hand this off to Craig to talk a little bit about. You can see some of these things. We get asked a lot of questions. So Craig, maybe you could highlight a few of those and see what Ralph's take on this is.
So Ralph, I know, we've been talking a lot over the past even 6 months, and we've talked to our clients, whether they be a startup company, a seasoned enterprise company, but generally there's a lot of the same kind of questions. And the first one, if you could elaborate a little bit on it, but people are going, isn't cyber insurance even worth it? Do they need it? Why is it so expensive? And is cyber insurance cover even crypto, some of the new stuff?
Yep, that's a good question. So a lot of the smaller companies and mid-market are the companies that really need help in this area, both from your company and my company. And they all ask the same question: do we need insurance? How much insurance do we need? What does it pay for, et cetera? And my answer is always the same thing. Look, if you're connected to the internet, you're at risk. You have exposures, and if you're willing to pay for that yourself, fine. But my mojo here has always been, look, my insurance will keep you in business. Cyber insurance and cyber security together are two things that you must have if you want to stay in business today.
So Ralph, what if I'm a small company? Small, medium company. I'm a, common term as a mom and pop shop, and I'm starting to grow a little bit. Do I even need insurance?
Absolutely. It's the things that you're unaware of or you're not expecting, like downtime is a big thing. Getting hacked, restoration cost, getting back up on your feet, et cetera, can be very, very expensive. As you know, forensics and legal cost can be, 2 to 3 times what you think it's going to be. And again, the big deal right now is business interruption, where, if you're down for 20 days, what is that going to cost your company? And to boot, your general liability will not cover those expenses.
That's a great question. I was going to ask you that next. And then if it's not covering that, we've had another small company. They were held by ransomware, and it literally put them out of business. I think they were kind of shocked. If I had a policy put in place, would something like that help me and keep my business going?
Yes, absolutely. A good policy will cover ransomware, all your restoration costs, and third-party damages, which we're going to talk about a little bit.
So why is it so expensive, Ralph?
Well, for the last few years, all of the hacks and the risks have doubled. For the last 5 years, things have gone through the roof, and last year the damages were in the 20 billion range. So, wow. The insurance companies have been taking hits for a long time. A lot of insurance companies jumped into this, the cyber insurance, and then figured out that they were losing money on it quick. So the remaining companies that are writing insurance have increased their premium due to that.
Makes sense. I think it's growing. We know that's not going to stop. So for navigating cyber security and your insurance, what are some of the things that insurance carriers are responding to?
Well, the first thing is you need to know which insurance carriers you need to insure with. Not all insurance carriers are the same. Simple policies are cheap, but they're not effective. There can be a lot of exclusions in policies. But the good thing is that the underwriters right now are stepping up to the plate. They're realizing that you need multi-factor authentication, you need endpoint protection, you need companies like you guys, like the Tech Collective, to come in, do an assessment, see where they need help, and really get some measurement and some loss analysis, from external people like you before we go to market and acquire insurance.
It makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Craig, I'd like to ask a quick question if I could, or Ralph. We've probably all been aware of the Move It payment transfer system problems that have been going on this week. And that's a great example of a third-party risk that a lot of companies aren't kind of covering in how they approach cyber insurance. Could you comment on that for a little bit?
Well, and the other thing is, Alan, and work from home is a big risk right now. I mean, you have so many people that are working from home, and the infiltration of malware into their personal devices, et cetera. I mean, it's rampant. There's nothing we can do to stop a lot of that unless people put into place protection like you offer.
Yeah, Craig, I heard a comment the other day. This is, we'll send this out to everybody that requests it from the video, but this is a recent article and published by AM Best, the famous ratings agency, that talked about cyber war, because these things are now global. We heard about Volt Typhoon, the Chinese bad actors that are using, you mentioned home office, they're using vulnerabilities in these routers as relay points for the malware. So you don't know about it unless you're doing things to protect yourself. So that's a good call there.
Correct. And most people don't, and they're not aware of the deep web and the dark web and what goes on there. And they're so busy day to day trying to make ends meet and do their business that they don't see the exposures that you guys and I see on a daily basis.
Yeah. And let's talk for a minute about applications. I know this is one of your favorite topics, Craig.
So some of the applications we do, we help clients. It's a multitude of questions. And, Ralph, they don't know where to get insurance first off, what the marketplace holds, assuming the client understands insurance applications at all, and not knowing enough time. People are saying, well, my insurance company is telling my renewal's coming up and it might be next week. Is that enough time? And we tell people no. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's something I hear all the time. And a lot of the emergency phone calls that I get, hey, can you help us out? My first question is, well, when is your insurance due? And it's like, well, late next week. And it's like, well, you got to give us time. That 90-day window is probably where we start. You need to give yourself time. First of all, just to figure out what your exposure and your threats are. The common question is, how much insurance do I need? Is $1 million enough? Will that keep us in business? And so on and so forth. When I give an application to a CFO, there's no way they can fill it out by themselves. The new applications are anywhere from 10 to 15 pages long. We may have an addendum to that and also another application for ransomware. So it is very, very entailed. People rely on their IT guys, support like you guys, the Tech Collective, to walk them through that and say, what does this mean? They have no idea. They're not technical enough to fill it out. And they need our help to manage that and say, look at all these line items, first party coverage, third party coverage. How much do we need? What do these sublimits mean? What do these exclusions mean? So it is a lengthy process. It's not a one size fits all. And you really have to do your due diligence in order to get the right insurance.
So with that, so you're saying that the policies can be customized. You're not getting a cookie cutter policy that's helping everybody.
Correct. Correct. So it depends what industry you're in. Are you a manufacturer? Are you in transportation? Are you in technology? Can we blend an errors and omissions policy together with that cyber policy like we do for tech companies? So yes, there are many, many options.
So I know some of the ways we can reduce the cyber security and various attacks. You can take a holistic approach to cybersecurity. Part of that begins with do your patches, making sure that your software updates are there. Continuously monitor your network traffic. You can build an incident response plan. Do you even have an incident response plan? Alan, if you can share some of these down here, it's an endless listing, but you can stay ahead of the cyber risks and trends by doing this. Assign a cybersecurity oversight with designated stakeholders.
This is an important one, Craig, isn't it? The third-party vendors, and people don't ask, do you have cyber insurance? I'm using you, but are you covered?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the other thing too, Craig, for you guys, I have a lot of smaller companies that get approached by cybersecurity companies that want to sell them a big package of 20 different items, and it's a long list, and it's overwhelming for their smaller. If they have an IT guy on board, it's overwhelming for him because he doesn't realize or understand all of these coverages. So that's why it's really important for you guys to come in and custom make or custom provide something that fits them.
And I would add one, sorry, Craig, I would add one thing there real quick. To this last point here, the cyber hygiene and transparency, a lot of people don't know their known unknowns. They're transparent about what they know, but not about what they don't know. And that's where companies like the Tech Collective can help them see where the gaps are that they need to fix, because we know where those are. They may not. And to your point, Ralph, they may be small or mid-sized and they don't have a CISO or a 10-man security force, and we can help with that.
Yeah, even if they have a small IT department, the IT department lives in a bubble. You know, they don't see what you guys see. You know, they're busy keeping emails up and running and all that fun stuff, but they don't know what the exposures are out there.
And it's really, Alan, I think that the punchline here for boiling all of that down. So you've got to look at your complete system as one, and that's including your third-party vendors, making sure they have incident response plans in case they're attacked, which could affect you as well. So I think it's a universal plan that would help. And you may want to partner with some of your third-party vendors as well to make sure that you've incorporated plans and the communication plan goes up and down. So in case something happens, that you're not being just stuck in the rough and stuck alone. So that's where I think great partnership is definitely important.
And Ralph, I'd add one thing here. If you look at this quote from Matt from Ludy Mutual, I think a lot of people don't look at cyber insurance from the perspective of what's my business look like. You mentioned this earlier on where you said, well, okay, what happens if I'm down for 20 days, for goodness sakes? How much is that going to impact me and my employees and so forth? And so I think flipping this and looking at it from a business perspective as opposed to a technology perspective is really important. I quite often ask our customers, hey, Craig, what would this mean to you personally if you got hacked? And they kind of sit back and go, well, yeah, that's a good question. And so getting them to think that way makes them be a little broader in the scope of what they're looking at. And I think that's really important. You both bring up a great point there. And here's another quote from Matt. Not everybody has a board of directors, of course, but we see a lot of companies that are scared at the employee level to say anything. Like, well, we're not, how come we're not doing this two-factor stuff? That's pretty simple, right? But we're not doing it. They're scared to say anything for fear of reprisal. And that's where the board or the senior management of the company can say, hey, it's okay. Tell us, we want to know. Did you get phished? Did somebody click on that email? I even heard Ralph of an underwriter the other day. He wanted to know more than, do you conduct security training? He wanted to see the results. How many people passed and how many people failed? And
Absolutely.
So, it's really important that people understand what to do before an event occurs, not afterwards. And we'll talk about that in the last couple of notes here. But to your point about the 20 products, Ralph, there's over 3,300 cybersecurity products in the marketplace. And kudos to Cyberscape for putting this slide together. I couldn't do it. I don't have big enough glasses to be able to do that. But kind of coming to a conclusion here, Craig, let's have you talk a little bit about you and I and Ralph can work together to help people understand where those gaps are and identify some of those known unknowns.
Well, it really begins with a conversation, Alan, and we want to see what gaps there are. And sometimes you need a second pair of eyes. So the Tech Collective, we offer a security assessment, and it's a cybersecurity readiness report that is out of there. It takes about an hour and a half. Very simple exercise to walk through. It'll identify some of the gaps, things you might not have even thought of, and protecting you for the cybersecurity needs. With that information, you can take it to the board and also your risk managers and bring in people like Ralph and his team to take a look at that various coverages and try to see, really do a gap assessment and try to customize things. You might be looking at things you don't need and might be identifying things that never even thought of. So, and that's why we bring in people like Ralph and his team to take a look at that.
This would help a lot of my clients and a lot of people prior to them going to market. The underwriters would appreciate it. They may get a more favorable premium because of this, but it allows them and gives them the time to make the corrections they need with this security before they go to application, before they go to submission. So this is very, very important. You know, that 60, 90 days out, be prepared, get your ducks in line, especially on security, and then you go to market instead of having the underwriters refuse to write you because you don't have X, Y, Z in place.
Yeah, I took a quote from you, Ralph, that I thought was fabulous when we were talking a couple of weeks ago, where he said, I see so many applications that aren't camera ready, meaning they've filled out, there's 100 questions and they've done 50 of them and assume they're still going to get written a policy. And, this assessment that we do, there's no charge for it other than your time. And we can bring our expertise. We have many years of expertise in the cybersecurity business. We can help you identify those things. We can advise you on a product or two that you might want to look at, but that's not why we're doing this. It's a much broader approach to things. So all you got to do is reach out to us and we'll help. With that, I'll pass it over to Craig and Ralph for any closing or arguments or comments.
Yeah, Ralph, I think this is great. I think this shows more of a complete soup to nuts type of approach. You begin with a conversation, you start looking at the assessment. We can hand that over as a group discussion and bring in the expertise that will help us customize the policy, because really no two policies are alike and they can be very industry specific. So I appreciate your extra help in this and your thought.
Thank you. And you know what? It's a unified front with both teams like yours and ours. Years ago when a client would say, hey, I don't really need too much security because I have insurance, those days are gone. The underwriters now have paralleled your thoughts and said, look, we need to get security up there and make sure that they have it in place in order to get insurance. So it's a very good unified front, and together, hopefully we can stop some of this.
Well, the one thing I would say, I would invite anybody that has extra questions who are reviewing this. I know Alan is going to make this available for them and the presentation, but we invite you to reach out. You can contact us at info@thetechcollective.net or give us a call at 470-719-5973. Welcome any feedback. Thank you,
and
guys.
Of course, if you'd like to connect with Ralph, we'd be glad to pass that on to him and his team if you've got specific insurance questions. And for that, we thank you for watching and hope you all have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.